Hello, Can We Talk listeners? It's Jen Richler, and I'm here with Nahanni Rouse and Judith Rosenbaum, my partners in podcasting. And we are here to reflect, to reminisce, to kvel, because it is our 120th episode. Hello, Judith, and hello, Nahanni.
Hello.
Hello, Jen.
So, okay, why 120? In Jewish tradition, it's customary to wish someone until 120, or in Yiddish, bis 120, or in Hebrew, ad 120, on their birthday. In Genesis, 120 is given as the maximum normal lifespan. So, Judith and Nahanni, on the one hand, I say Mazel Tov on this auspicious occasion, but I also at the same time would like to think that the podcast has not reached the end of its lifespan.
That is true. We were excited to celebrate this milestone, but of course, we're not seeing it as the bookend of anything.
Hey, it's Erez Zobary, and I'm here with my dad, Shaul.
Barakeh!
Which means Mazel Tov in Yemenite. Mazel Tov to the JWA on reaching your 120th podcast episode.
Hi, it's Eleanor Reissa. Mazel Tov to Can We Talk. Zu jeder, was arbeitet auf Can We Talk, und jeder, was hört sich zu Can We Talk. Können wir reden. Ich wünsch dir einander 120 Episoden, sollst sein gesinnt und stark. Mazel Tov, tu, oh mein.
Hi, it's Galeet Dardashti. خیلی مبارک باشه to Can We Talk. تا 120 سال دیگه.
Buenos días, queridas amigas del Jewish Women's Archive podcast. Yo soy Karen Sharhon, directora del Centro Sefardí de Estambul. Qué alegría de saber que ya estás en el episodio 120. Qué bueno, nosotros siempre decimos hasta los 120. Estos y muchos de Nazar Guardado, de Hoyo Malo y de Ainara. Espero que vaya a hacer muchos más 120 episodios. Mazel Tov.
Hi everybody, Shosh here walking through Brooklyn like a hipster. I wanted to wish my favorite podcast, Can We Talk, a happy 120. עד 120, שתמשיכו להפיק אפיזודות של הפודקאסט המדהימות והפרופאונד שלכם. People always say on your birthday in Hebrew, oof, enough honking, I'm doing an announcement, until 120. We all know nobody wants to live until 120 when you are full of aches and pains and dementia and you can't keep your pee in. But when it comes to podcasts, 120 is a blessed number. As keep going, Yasher Koach, as the American Jews like to say. It was an honor to be a guest on your show, and I can't wait till I'm on again, even if I'm not doing something exciting or have a great story to tell, just to keep it.
So I want to go back to the beginning and talk a bit about how the podcast got started. I wasn't around when Can We Talk first got started. So Nahanni and Judith, I want you to tell us a little bit about the origin story of Can We Talk and how the idea for the show first took shape.
You know, I think we started talking about doing a podcast together almost exactly 10 years ago. I think it was the fall of 2014.
I mean, it took us about a year to launch it. Like, we launched it a year later, but that was when we started really dreaming together about what it could be and what it would look like and
what it might be called. One of the biggest challenges that we faced.
Right. It took us a whole year to figure that one out.
So, yeah, those are some of my questions. So, actually, what was the vision for the podcast when you were starting to have those early conversations? Because there's obviously a lot of ways it could go.
Well, I think from the beginning, I always really just wanted it to sound good. Like, I wanted it to be a podcast that people would enjoy listening to, where we would use audio creatively and, you know, be attentive to a level of detail that would make it a nice listening experience for people. And we wanted to tell compelling stories about Jewish women and to convey the idea that Jewish women can do and be so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had this sense that people have so many stereotypes and preconceptions of who Jewish women are and like what Jewish women's stories would be. And we wanted to just blow that open.
This is Noah Efron. As the host of the Promise podcast for the last 14 years, I can say from experience, oh my God, Can We Talk is so good. Each episode on its own is delightful. Who knew that the revival of klezmer music has a queer history? Who knew that the Jain Collective and the fight for reproductive rights in the United States has a Jewish history? Who knew that Jewish women were behind seances and mediums and mesmerism back in the day? The whole podcast is mesmerizing. But there is also a whole being bigger than the sum of its parts aspect to Can We Talk. After you listen for a while, everything you thought you knew about Jewish history and Jewish culture, it all starts to shift. And it's weird at first, but then you realize that this is what Jewish history is once you stop overlooking Jewish women. It is full of passion and color and meaning and fascination. So congratulations on reaching 120 episodes, a biblical milestone. Of course, Sarah lived to be 127 and Methuselah lived to be 969. I'm just saying. Thank you, Can We Talk, for rocking my world.
My name is Rebecca, and I'm from Berkeley, California. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I keep coming back to Can We Talk. What I love about it is that even though it has a narrow focus on the experiences of Jewish women, this focus is like an aperture into a tremendous breadth of topics across time and place. Some of the episodes that have stayed with me include the one about the girl who read from the Torah in Braille at her bat mitzvah, and the one about Ladino speakers in Turkey keeping this language alive. Mazel tov to the Can We Talk team for reaching this milestone of 120 episodes. I look forward to the next season.
Since Nahanni brought it up, how did you come up with the name?
We talked about so many different things. I honestly don't even know if we should talk about some of the ideas that we had that didn't fly, because some of them were really embarrassing.
Oh, well, now I want to hear them.
I remember,
don't even remember them anymore.
Somebody suggesting something like Eve's rib or like something like that.
We talked about things like broadly speaking, like BROAD.
We also talked about that time of the month.
Oh, right. Oh,
remember?
My God, I totally forgot that.
Because at first we were going to be doing only a monthly podcast. Right. So it was going to be like, hi, it's that time of the month.
I'm really glad we didn't do that. That's so cringy. I think part of what we liked about Can We Talk, it was the kind of catchphrase of Joan Rivers, and we wanted something that had a historical, like a historical hook to something that had to do with Jewish women. And so that also gave us the image that we could use for the podcast, which is based on a famous photograph of Joan. And the way that it didn't fit in, that I think we weren't totally crazy about it, is that like we're not generally just like a talk podcast, and Can We Talk sounds like it's going to be sort of like a podcast where people are like dishing, and that's not really our vibe.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the beginning. I mean, in the beginning we were much more tightly scripted, and we've opened it up a lot more now to include more conversations and straight up interviews. We've kind of come around a little bit to that. The other thing I do like about the title is that it's very inviting.
Right. It feels sort of inclusive.
Hello, it's Susan Stamberg from NPR, and I'm remembering the interview that we did a while ago about women's voices in broadcasting. It was a conversation we had in 2018, and I'm back in touch with you again because I really want to congratulate you on this milestone. That's amazing. 120 is a big number. It's actually older than I am. But what I remember is how much fun it was to talk with you and be part of the Jewish Women's Archive. So thank you for asking me. Congratulations to everybody. Don't feel older than I. I hope you have many, many more years on your horizon.
Hi, it's Judy Gold, and I want to wish Can We Talk congratulations on their 120th episode. And what an accomplishment. Here's to 120 more, and then 120 after that, and that would be 360 episodes, which would be 20 times high. See what I did there? Also, 120 is 6.66 times high. Uh-oh. Mazel tov!
Hi, I'm Linda Gradstein in Jerusalem. I first met Nahanni in 2002 when I was the NPR correspondent in Jerusalem and Nahanni was my intern. It was fun to work together years later on the story about women in Israeli politics for Can We Talk. And I wanted to wish you all a mazel tov on your 120th episode.
Was there anything about when you started producing the podcast that surprised you?
I mean, I think I was used to looking for compelling stories, and I wasn't used to always looking for stories that had a gender angle. And I guess, surprise, like a lot of stories have gender angles. So maybe that was sort of something that did surprise me, but not to be trite about it. I think I've learned a lot from looking through the gender lens at stories.
I don't come from an audio background. I come from a podcast fangirl background, but like I feel like I've learned a ton, especially in the early years, Nahanni, from you around like what a story is. Like I'm an idea person. I'll be like, this is such an interesting idea. And Nahanni would be like, right, but what's like the story?
Well, I think like right back at you, Judith. I feel like I've learned so much from you about telling stories in a historical context.
Yeah, I feel like Judith is often like our historical consultant.
Oh, yeah.
This is Daniel Moses from Silver Spring, Maryland. What I love about Can We Talk is how it opens windows into very interesting aspects of our history and our past. But what's amazing to me and what's so inspiring to me is how often those lessons from the past can open up pathways for the future. And a lot of the lessons that I learned from Can We Talk is how to take those lessons from the past and apply them in a future-looking way, in a way that we can help forge a much better future for ourselves as we root ourselves in the past.
Hi, my name is Liz, and I am from Washington, D.C. An episode that really stood out to me was the one about Rebbitzins in America. It's easy to think about women's history and think about these turning points where women are gaining access to something or being able to do something that they couldn't do before. And I think that it's important to remember that women who couldn't be rabbis also found ways to be leaders in their community and to make change, and that being a Rebbitzin is a part of that. I think a lot of us, including myself, are straddling that sort of reverence for women in the past in traditional roles and also my identity as a feminist. And a lot of the stories from the Jewish Women's Archive feel like they are also living in that complex messiness of holding both at the same time. I think I've also just loved since October 7th, getting to hear voices of other women feeling the silence from the international feminist community. And in moments that I felt really alone and like those stories aren't being told, Can We Talk as a place to hear people and just feel less alone in that.
The last 9 years have been momentous and intense, and I feel like the podcast has been a way that we have processed some of it, whether it's like Trump's election in 2016 or, you know, October 7th or the election last week or the Me Too movement or the pandemic and all these things that have just been huge and things that we've had to grapple with and respond to. And it's also been joyful lots of times and been filled with adventures.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the joyful part. When you look back, what are some of your favorite podcast moments that come to mind?
Well, Judith, you mentioned the Women's March in 2017.
Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like.
what democracy looks like. This is what's supposed to happen.
Getting to be there with our daughters was so inspiring.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Shalva, I'm going to interview you in the tree, okay? Okay. Can you tell me your name, please, and where you're from?
You just said.
I know.
My name is Shalva Lazarus, and I live in D.C., and I am your daughter. I'm 9 years old. I think that this is just amazing, and I'm so glad to be here.
I'm Mayan Zimra Rosenbaum. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I turned 10 the day after the election. It's been really stressful because, you know, if you see like people like 20, 30, 40 years older than you being so worried, you know, like, this is my cue to be worried. But I think even though we have someone not so strong leading America, I think that if we take action and resist, then we can make a big change.
All of the times we did stuff with our daughters was pretty fun.
Oh. Hi, sorry.
Oh my god, there we go.
Oh, okay, yay.
I'm Shalva Lazarus, and I'm the daughter of Nahanni Rose.
I'm Mayan Rosenbaum, and I'm the daughter of Judith Rosenbaum. After our years-long hiatus, we're back on the podcast.
It's been a minute. One of the first things I thought about when Trump won this election was being interviewed when I was 9 at the Women's March with my aunt for this podcast. I remember I was in a tree when we were getting interviewed.
Yes.
Were you wearing one of the pink hats?
Yes, I love that hat. I didn't take it off for like a month. One of my favorite things about the podcast is getting these in-depth zooms on little bits of history and finding out that they have this entire Jewish feminist history that I would have had no idea about.
Yeah, and finding these Jewish cultural pockets that I never would encounter. Iranian singers or Claudia Rodin and her recipes, and how all of these are just puzzle pieces in the huge picture of culture in the world and gender in the world and Jewish culture and gender. And it's amazing how well the people who work on Can We Talk can use sound alone to make such worlds stay alive and preserved.
The mysterious people behind the scenes whom we may or may not know.
I'm your host, Nahanni Rose.
I heart Can We Talk.
I love Can We Talk.
Hi, my name is Maya, and I live in Bloomington, Indiana, and I am Jen's daughter. My favorite episode was the 100th anniversary of the first bat mitzvah. I'm 12 years old, and I'm preparing for my bat mitzvah, and it's just very relatable to me. And as I was listening to that episode, you know, I got to notice or realize that I was very grateful and I'm very fortunate for the fact that I get to have a bat mitzvah that is the same as the boys, the same as what my brother's bar mitzvah was like. And I'm very grateful also for the people who fought, like the women and their parents who fought for this equality. So Mazel Tov to Can We Talk's 120th episode, and I'm excited for many more.
I'm also remembering when we went to the Democratic National Convention in 2016.
Judith and I are here at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia.
It's obvious that this is a historic moment. Well, it's a historic moment for everyone, but it's clear what the gender story is in this particular historic moment. We were also interested in whether there's a particular Jewish women's story here at the convention. We got press passes for the podcast, and we drove home super late at night, and then we had this sense, whether it was accurate or not, that like we had to get the podcast episode out right away so it would be fresh and not feel like old news. And so we basically like stayed up all night. I mean, we drove late into the night, or practically all night, and then stayed up like all night at my parents' kitchen table. We stopped at my parents' house in New Haven and like produce the episode right then and there and like release it the next morning or something like that.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it had the like road trip all-nighter energy that we don't get to do that much anymore. And yeah, we were kind of fired up coming from that event.
Yeah. Way back years ago, we did an episode about Mahjong, and I got to join this group of women who had been meeting to play Mahjong every week for, I don't know, decades.
Mahjong, you play for yourself. I don't care if I win or lose. What difference does it make? And it's not just playing, it's talking about life, which is very important.
Two Dot.
Oh, goodness.
Everyone's awful quiet over there.
I have nothing. I just got a tiny something. I don't know what to do with this tiny something. correct.
It was so much fun. I didn't know how to play Mahjong. They taught me. I listened to them and chat and eat snacks. And it was just a reminder. We do a lot of serious episodes, and it was a reminder of the real importance of women just getting together to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, that was a great one. We've done some amazing episodes that have brought together people sort of across generations. Like I'm thinking about, I think this was actually maybe our second episode which was about Our Bodies, Ourselves, and we interviewed one of the founders, Volunia Diskin, at her home. But her daughter and granddaughter were also there and part of the conversation. It was a really snowy night. I remember we were like sliding all over the road she lives on a hill. And then we came in and it was warm and cozy.
Welcome, you intrepid folks.
Hello.
All right, girly cues, they're here.
It was just this wonderful moment of like women gathering together from, different ages and life stages and reflecting on these issues of women's health and women's activism. And it was so nourishing.
Hi, my name is Samara, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. I love to listen to the Can We Talk podcast on Friday mornings while I'm making challah for Shabbat. I turn on a new episode and get all of my ingredients ready and mix and knead away while I'm learning something new and connecting to Judaism and learning about issues that pertain to Jewish women while I'm performing a mitzvah that Jewish women have performed for generations. So it's a great way to start my Fridays and helps me bring in Shabbat.
I wanted to ask you, Jen, because you've been asking us a lot of questions, what has felt most rewarding for you about working on Can We Talk?
Yeah, I think it connects to something you said earlier about, all the different kinds of things that Jewish women can do or be. When I just look at, I've been working on the podcast for a little over 3 years, and I've thought to myself, it would be fun just to go back and list out all the different people I've interviewed for episodes, because I think it would just be fun to see how many people that is. It could easily be in the hundreds. For you, I'm sure it's a lot more. I just think it's amazing, just the sheer number. And then if you start looking at all the different walks of life and ages and backgrounds and professions, I thought of myself as already someone who was pretty engaged with the intersection of Judaism and feminism, and followed a lot of Jewish women who did interesting things. But it has just, like Judith said, blown open my idea of what that could be. And there's just something really exciting about that. And it's funny, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast, but my background is in clinical psychology. That's what I got my graduate degree in. And so I sometimes joke to people that, I'm really using my degree a lot as a podcaster. Ha ha. But I think what I've always loved is just asking people questions and getting them to talk. And I'm just fascinated by people. And so, what a fun job that I get to just talk to lots of people and basically fire questions at them. It's so exciting to get to do that, for my job.
One of my favorite things about the work that I get to do is working collaboratively with really creative, wonderful people who I enjoy working with and spending time with and learning from. And I feel like from the beginning, the podcast has totally been that. It's been such a great collaborative project all along, and it's really fun to do it with both of you.
Yeah. I agree. I feel the same way.
Well, here's to at least 120 more episodes. Mazel tov to you, Judith, and to you, Nahanni.
And to you, Jen.
And to you, Jen.
And to all of us.
And thank you so much to all of our guests and listeners who sent us messages of appreciation from 4 countries in 6 languages, including our daughters, Mayan Rosenbaum, Shalva Lazarus, and Maya Stoffman. Until 121, see you next time.